Hello and welcome to this course on UI automation. In this introductory video, we'll be discussing what UI automation is, how to set up the UIA library for AutoHotkey, and show a small example of how it can be used to automate applications. So first, let's define what UI or user interface actually is. It refers to all the elements that we as users are accustomed to using. So for example, in this Word window, we see many different examples of UI elements, such as the file, home, insert menu items, the drop-down menu right here, all the different buttons we could select, and the text box element. And UI automation, or UIA for short, is a tool provided by Microsoft that allows us to automate certain interactions with these elements. So for example, we could select the drop-down menu item or click on a button or fill in some text programmatically without needing to type anything out. So UIA was first created to provide accessibility for sight-impaired people. So for example, blind people need screen readers to interact with the UI. A screen reader would read out loud, file, home, insert, until it gets to the element the user wants to click, and then the user can use the keyboard to select that element. So we are going to use it through AutoHotkey to automate programs. So let's jump to AutoHotkey main page, where we can download AutoHotkey if you haven't already. This UIA library requires AutoHotkey version 2. There is a library for version 1 as well. It's called UI automation or UIA interface, but it's much harder to use and it isn't being developed actively. So I recommend going with AutoHotkey version 2 and the corresponding UIA-v2 library, which you can download from GitHub. So you can get it by clicking the code button right here and then download zip, which allows you to save it somewhere in your computer, which you can then open with a program. For example, I have it open here in Visual Studio Code, and when I run this with F5 hotkey, then we see an UIA viewer window, which is a help tool to show all these different UI elements. So for example, let's open up Calculator and try to inspect it with the usual Windows Spy tool. So when we try to inspect any of these buttons right here, then we see that it doesn't show us anything useful. So this control under mouse position is always the same application frame input sync window. However, if we inspect it with the UIA viewer tool, then we see that we can inspect all these different buttons. And when we hover over an item, we can stop capturing and look at these elements one by one. So we can highlight the 4 button, the 5 button, and so on. And this UIA viewer tool can also be used to create simple automation programs. So for example, if we click this show macro sidebar, then we can choose an action to do. For example, we can click the element. Let's select the 4 button, add this to the script. Let's select the plus button, add it, then 5, add that also, and the equals button. So what this script should do now is that it should click 4 plus 5 equals. Let's try it out by pressing test script. And it clicked those buttons and we get the result 9. So there are of course some limitations to UIA, and for example, UIA is quite application dependent, which means it won't work with any application. it might not show any user elements at all. Sometimes it can be slow, depending on how the code is written, and we will be taking a look at some methods to increase the speed of UIA scripts in later videos. UIA can also be fairly complex, and this is the reason why this series is being recorded in the first place. In the next videos in this course, we'll be taking a look at all the different UIA inspection tools, how to get access to the user interface elements, how to interact with them, how to move around in the UIA tree, and we'll be taking a look what the tree is in the first place. We'll be taking a look at some speed improvement tips, how to detect user events, and much more. So thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.